because as you're about to see, the terror war still rages here in Afghanistan. Before I tell you about this remote outpost known as the evilest place in this still violent country and introduce you to the brave GIs taking the fight to the Al-Qaeda and Taliban remnants trying to turn back the clock here in Afghanistan, there has been a rare rocket attack today back in the capital city of Kabul. Watch. All right, welcome back, folks. Colonel Michael Howard is the commanding officer, of the 1st Battalion of the 87th Infantry of the 10th Mountain Division. Any hesitation, Colonel, about these men coming out here after the blood we shed in Operation Anaconda back spring a year ago?
No, there's not at all. No hesitation at all. Additionally, we had some soldiers who had orders already to leave the battalion and voluntarily stayed to come on the deployment, so no hesitation.
Okay, I want to show you our opening video now for this program. Here's what we're going to be talking about over the course of the next hour from the Shkin Fire Base on the front lines, the evilest place in Afghanistan. Roll it. Shkin is a mud fortress that looks right out of the 18th century. And it's been attacked so often it proudly bears the title of being the evilest place in Afghanistan. And it's easy to understand why. Those mountains beyond the fort are in Pakistan. That's part of those wild frontier provinces that have long been suspected of providing a safe haven for the remnants of the Taliban and Al-Qaeda to launch their attacks. Our GIs are here to stop them. Lieutenant Crowley is the executive officer of Alpha Company. What do you guys like doing?
I think most people like being at Shkin because it's the place in Afghanistan we get to do our job day in and day out, which is to close with and destroy terrorists.
This is where the action is.
This is definitely where the action is.
Shkin is certainly where the action is, but it's not easy to get to. We flew here Friday on board an Army Chinook helicopter from the Big Bagram Air Base not far from Kabul. The hour-and-a-half-long flight hugs the rough and rugged mountain terrain. That's to reduce the chance of ground fire, like that which recently brought down a similar Chinook in the skies over Iraq. To further discourage attacks, we were escorted by a formidable Apache gunship all the way to the fire base, which does look like a scene from the French Foreign Legion movie Beau Geste. There have been dozens of violent engagements over the last few months. And these troops have paid the price in blood for their commitment to enduring freedom. 3 GIs from the 10th Mountain Division have been killed in confrontations with the enemy over the last several months. Dozens more have been injured. They take casualties because, unlike armies past, our forces here have refused to hunker down behind the thick mud walls of their ancient fortress. They've been taking the fight to the enemy, and there's plenty of fighting to be had in this wild region along the Pakistan-Afghanistan border. A year ago March, on their previous deployment, the 10th was part of Operation Anaconda, in a bold move designed to seal off this part of the country from the enemy. A joint operation began to cut off the 7 passes leading into the Shah-e-Kot Valley. But bad weather and unexpected enemy resistance cost us dearly. We lost 8 Special Forces guys. Our coalition allies lost 3 of their soldiers, and hundreds of the enemy escaped. Since then, and despite this latest wave of renewed resistance, we have been holding the line with aggressive patrols, firing flares to light the nighttime sky. Tonight, you'll meet the troops manning the fort in the evilest place in Afghanistan. And everybody, okay, finally, welcome back to Afghanistan. Sorry about these technical problems. The evilest place in Afghanistan obviously is hard on the technological side of our broadcast. I don't want it, though, to diminish our presentation of the 10th Mountain Division and the mission they are performing here. Colonel Michael Howard, the commander of the 1st of the 87th of the 10th Mountain. What's your mission here, Colonel?
Shkin Fire Base itself is not important. What's important is that these soldiers are in the border region of the Paktika province, where we are doing 2 things. The first is providing stability so that the central government in Kabul can grow. And it is growing, and when it gets strong enough, it will provide the stability here. Until then, we're staying. The second thing we're doing is when the Al-Qaeda or Taliban share their face, then we go out and meet them. These soldiers have done that 21 times now, and they've done a magnificent job so far.
How come you're not hunkering down behind these big, thick walls, keeping your men safe?
Geraldo, if we hide in here, then we lose and they win. So we go out and meet them.
Who's the soldier standing alongside you?
This is Staff Sergeant McGurk. What's special about him is he's the only soldier in the battalion that's pending 2 Bronze Stars with Valors. So real proud of him.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Geraldo.
So what happened?
Since I've been here at Shkin, I've been in 2 firefights myself, and it was definitely an experience that I'll never forget. And
we saw some of the video. It looked wild and crazy.
Yeah, if you haven't been there, it'd probably look wild and crazy, but I like to call it controlled chaos. And I'm sure all these guys can tell you they've been in firefights also. It's something you'll never forget.
What was the mission? What happened?
The two firefights I was in on the 29th, we were basically back up for another platoon. We rolled in to help them clear the low ground where they had been taking fire from earlier in the day. And as we were pushing through some of the low ground, we were engaged by some enemy forces.
How long have you been in the service?
Going on 9 years.
So you're going to stick it out?
I'm thinking about it.
This is a scary place, mate.
It's scary, but it's necessary that we're here.
Who's this other fella, Colonel?
This is Specialist Soloway.
What's unique about this guy?
Specialist Soloway, since he's been here, has has a newborn child.
Is that right? So, how you doing? What else? I hear you've been in a couple of scrapes, too.
I've been in one since we've been in country this time. I was in Operation Anaconda last time. We engaged 3 times. It's different. Every one of them's different.
How old are you?
21.
So you've been in quite a while, huh?
Yes, sir.
A big percentage of your life. What do your folks say?
They're proud of me. Glad I'm over here.
You have a newborn?
Yes, I do.
What's the name? How old?
Matthew James. He's about a month old.
Well, he's probably watching right now. You want to say hi to him and your wife?
Yeah, I want to say hi to my wife, Crystal, and my 2 boys at home. Tell them I love them.
All right. Congratulations and well done. Well done. What I want to do now is just take a brief intermission. I want to get out to what happened in Baghdad today with the almost shoot down of that cargo liner, and also 18 Iraqis killed in another terror attack. Let's go to Fox News correspondent Dana Lewis in Baghdad. Dana.
Hi, Geraldo is Rump.
All right, let me go to a guest we have tremendous admiration for. He's back in New York. He's the former brave Bernie Kerik is the former New York City Police Commissioner. He's the based more often here in Afghanistan. Colonel Michael Howard, first of the 87th of the 10th Mountain. Are you getting more cooperation from the local people?
Geraldo, we are. The soldiers here represent something to the folks in this border region. They represent an alternative to Al-Qaeda and Taliban, and that alternative is ITGA. With the stability these guys bring, they're electing to take that alternative. My soldiers walk through areas of this valley now that 4 months ago, when they went through, they got shot at. Now when they go through them, the kids come up and get candy from them. So yes, we are getting more cooperation.
This rocket attack that I talked about at the top of the program on the Intercontinental Hotel, let me just I called it a relatively upscale hotel. I just have to tell you that the only time I ever stayed in the Intercontinental Hotel was during the war. We wanted to go there to get some hot food. I ordered an omelet. I got the omelet. I bit down. I hit something hard, and I pulled out a 7-inch long rat tail. I never ate again at the Intercon. I'm not putting down all the Intercons. I just want to give you an idea of what relatively upscale really means. But do you fear, back to the serious side of this, Colonel, do you fear that if they start targeting soft targets like a hotel, like any civilian who may or may not be helping you, a kindergarten, for God's sakes, who knows what they're going to pick on next? What's a soldier to do?
What's a soldier to do? The way we stop the Al-Qaeda is by making it unsafe for them to go any place in this border region. And the way we do that is get off this fire base and go out into those regions that he is in now. I'll tell you this, if Al-Qaeda and Taliban were really strong now, they wouldn't shoot innocent UN workers. They would come to this fire base and attack us, but they don't. They're not strong now. They are weak.
You are getting your
severely weakened.
Severely weakened though they may be, you're still getting your fair share of rocket attacks in here.
We are. Since these soldiers have been in country, they've been rocketed 22 times.
22 times?
That's right.
Nice, boys, nice. I'm sure you folks back home will be glad to hear that, but you're still here, and yeah, all right, you're still standing.
But there's more. Out of those 22 times, each one between 5 and 10 rockets, 1 rocket has actually hit this fire base, and 1 has hit my other base. None of my soldiers have been injured by their rocket attacks. In fact, the only people that have ever been injured by Al-Qaeda's rocket attacks are other Afghans. So
that's a pattern that we're seeing all too often, and I hope that as they continue to kill fellow Muslims, that at some point they're going to lose the goodwill. They're going to lose the battle for the hearts and minds of the Iraqi people, the same way they're losing the battle for the hearts and minds of the Afghan people. So who's this soldier next to you, Colonel?
This is Sergeant Roman, and his claim to fame is since he's been here this time, he's been in 4 different engagements with the enemy.
And you keep going back for more. Why?
Why? I guess they're asking for it, tell you that. Like BC said, we're here to actually get rid of terrorists, especially around the world, and sterilize this country right here.
But you know, you've lost some fellow soldiers.
Well, that's just part of the battle. I know it for the family it really sucks, but somebody got to do the dirty job here, you know. So just try to make the world as safe as possible.
How do you feel coming on Thanksgiving? You know, folks back home, you want to say hi to anybody? How's your heart feel?
Well, for one thing, I want to tell my wife she's due on the November 18th, but she's doing overtime right now. So yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
that's gonna be a 10-month, maybe the elephant baby in there. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations. Is that your first one?
The second one from of course, different wife, but that's.
Oh yeah. This is all right. What's that? Okay, I just want to say goodbye to Commissioner Kirk. He's going to be splitting. Coming up, Colonel Oliver North will be joining us. He is with the troops north of Tikrit. That, of course, Saddam Hussein's hometown in Iraq. We're going to keep bouncing back between Afghanistan, Iraq, and our home base back in the States. So stand by. We'll be right back from Shkin Fire Base, the most evil place in Afghanistan with the best troopers in the country, the 10th Mountain Division. Let's hear it, boys. Right back. Welcome back, everybody, to the Shkin Fire Base, called the evilest place in Afghanistan. Colonel Brian Hilferty, the Public Information Officer for the whole division. You think it lives up to that name?
I don't think it does now. How I look at these guys have made it one of the best places in the world.
Oh, you think I should take a vacation home here?
I think with these guys around you, you'd be safe here, Geraldo.
Now, is it not a fact that you have, of the coalition forces here, what is it,
12,000 coalition
total?
forces,
How many U.S.?
10,000 U.S. and 5,000 or 10th Mountain Division warriors like these guys, Geraldo.
But this is not the only country in which 10th Mountain is deployed.
Our motto is the sun never sets in the 10th Mountain Division. We have 2,000 troops in Iraq, including a cavalry battalion or cavalry squadron and an infantry battalion. We have the 5,000 troops in Afghanistan, and we even have an infantry company in Africa, in the Horn of Africa.
At least it's not as chilly as it is up in Fort Drum, guys. Look at it that way. Although the fight here is different than the fight in Iraq, there is no doubt, ladies and gentlemen, but that the terror war is one war being fought on many different fronts. For instance, there is a direct connection now, we are finding out, between what happened here and those terror attacks in Istanbul, Turkey. DNA tests have confirmed that the 2 suicide bombers who took out those synagogues about a week and a half ago in Istanbul were trained here at Al-Qaeda camps in Afghanistan. And while the the investigation obviously is continuing, the authorities have an important piece of evidence linking Turkish terrorism to the Al-Qaeda camps that were here. It is they found a tangible link. It is a handwritten note, a notebook in Turkish that was found after Osama and his boys abandoned their Duranta camp, the Duranta camp near the Afghan city of Jalalabad. That was back in November 2001, and we were also there. Watch this. That notebook incidentally contained instructions on how to kill someone driving in a car from a passing motorcycle, and also, obviously, how to commit a suicide bombing. Joining us now with more on the link between these assaults, wherever they may be, is Bob Baer. Bob is a former CIA operative. Melt away in Iraq as if we capture Saddam Hussein. Here in Afghanistan, I am sure that, I know it happens in my life, that these GIs go to bed dreaming of catching many things, you know, your spouses back home, your girlfriends, I don't know, Playboy Channel, but also catching Osama, Mullah Omar, some of these other bad apples. Do you know, are they hiding still in these rugged mountains along the Afghan border? We're going to ask an expert on that, as well as our men, officers and men of the 10th Mountain Division. First, I want to take a quick break. Stand by. We are live from the Shkin Fire Base on the Pakistan-Afghan border, the evilest place, or maybe the best place now, soon to be, in Afghanistan. Stand by. Right back in a flash. Welcome back to the Shkin Fire Base, the evilest place in Afghanistan. You're looking at the men and women, actually 4 women here from the crack 10th 10th Mountain Division based up in Fort Drum, New York. Part of the reason these guys are stationed here, folks, is, you know, I assume, let me ask Colonel Michael Howard, the commanding officer, part of the mission is to look out for Osama, Mullah Omar, some of these other bigwigs?
Actually, Geraldo, it's not. It's not part of our mission. If they show themselves, certainly we'll take them in, but no, it's not part of what we're doing.
So who's after them? I won't ask you that. I know I don't want to ask any questions about Special Forces operations or some of the other things we've got going. But I would venture to guess that, given past experience, the Pakistanis are going to have to help out a lot, because I really do believe that they are still in these remote tribal regions, but I may be wrong. I want to go to one of our experts in this area, a man with considerable experience, Fox News foreign affairs analyst Mansour Ijaz. Mansour's on the telephone. So what do you think, mate? Do you think he's still here in this undetermined region, this wild region, the frontier province in Afghanistan, this tribal territory? What do you think, Mansour?
Well, Geraldo, I'm afraid that given the
officials have granted some kind of unofficial sanctuary to Osama bin Laden? Are you saying that this is a governmental deal, or you think he just snuck over the border, which,
no.
after all, is just a line in the sand?
He was escorted to the Afghan-Iran border on the Afghanistan side.
We'll decide the day they
get a bloody nose,
they have that
for sure. But still, it doesn't prevent them from trying.
The second-best soldiers in the world after the U.S., I think, are the Afghani army, who are going to be our allies now, who are good allies. But why don't I ask Colonel Michael Howard back here to Afghanistan? Do you have any idea what is behind? First of all, do you agree that there has been a resurgence in Taliban and Al-Qaeda activity in country?
A little, but let me explain it very carefully.
Go ahead.
As you look at anything over time that grows, for example, the stock market. If you looked at it 30 years ago, you would see a curve that started down here and ended up here. If you look at the growth of the Afghan government, you look at a curve that starts down here and grows up here. In the middle, there are some dips and curves, but it is growing and it is getting stronger. The Taliban and Al-Qaeda are the opposite curve. They were very strong and they're headed down. There's some dips and valleys in there, and right now there's a little peak. But again, if they were really strong, they would attack this fire base and these soldiers. But they're not. That's why they're attacking hotels with innocent people in them, shooting UN workers. If they were really strong, they would fight soldiers, and they're not.
How do you feel about the kind of cooperation we're getting in this country? I see Germans, I see French, I see Norwegians. And Anaconda had coalition forces from half a dozen countries. Is this kind of a model of what the United States hopes will happen in Iraq?
You're really out of my area there. I don't know. I don't know enough about Iraq. I haven't been separated from it now for almost 5 months. But I know we have a coalition here, and it's strong, and it works.
And it works. Back to Mansour. Do you think that what is happening in places like Istanbul, and before Istanbul, Riyadh, and Casablanca, and Bali, is this the dying throes of a terrorist regime, or is this a new offensive?
I'm afraid that, Geraldo, it could have looked that way if it was...
Let me say this to Hekmatyar. If he wants to come this way, these guys behind me are going to be in his way. And if I were him, I'd think twice about crossing that border again.
I say touche to that, Geraldo.
Eat some more falafels. All right, man. Let me take a quick break. When we come back, more on the human side of this story. These warriors, as Thanksgiving approaches, back in the United States. More on these warriors who are out here sacrificing so much, their time with their families, risking their necks, all for us, all for the fight for freedom. So stand by. We'll be right back after this short break. Okay, welcome back to the Shkin Fire Base. We're in the Pakistan-Afghanistan border. I want to go back to Staff Sergeant McGurk and Specialist Soloway. These two combat veterans, they've seen so much. Even though Soloway here is just 21 years old, they've seen far more than their share of their buddies getting hurt or even killed. I know this sounds like a dumb or insensitive question. Bear with me. I just want you to tell me, from a warrior's point of view, what it's like when you lose a comrade in battle.
It's pretty painful, Geraldo. I've never lost a soldier since I've been in the Army for 9 years, and it happened on the 29th. And PFC O'Neill was a great soldier. He was a great kid, and my values and my priorities in life, because of that day, have been reorganized and changed. And it makes you appreciate life that much more. Because any time we go out of the wire, you realize it could be at anyone at any time. And that's just something that we have to live with every day.
What happened to O'Neill? I heard so much about it.
It was on the 29th, the contact I talked about earlier. His team was moving up some high ground, and we took fire from the front. We also took fire from the rear, and unfortunately, he was hit from the rear where we hadn't seen the enemy that they were hiding in.
What was it, a sniper?
I can't say if he was school trained or not, but it was a bolt-action rifle that we believe that hit O'Neill.
And you're so young, man. How do you deal with death, 21 years old?
I'm not really sure. I mean, it hurt a lot to see a fallen soldier. Didn't really know what to think at first. You just kind of, he's a soldier, you're a soldier, you're here to do a job. He paid the ultimate price, and I feel really bad for his family and friends.
What do you hear about how the folks back home were feeling about what you're doing here?
Not a whole lot. I haven't really heard much about what's going on. You know, they say anything on TV or anything about this place anymore.
Do you get to talk to your family?
I talk to them quite a bit, yes I do.
I'm sure they're worried. What do you say? Don't worry about me?
Tell them nothing's going on. Take it easy. I'm all right.
All right, now you got a happy story? What's coming up?
I had a son September 4th.
Oh, it happened already. Wow.
Yes. I'm very proud of that. His older sister, said hi to my wife, Christina, my daughter, Allison, my son, Andrew. So.
That's the new guy?
Yeah. He's 6 pounds, 11 ounces, 19 and a half inches long.
More or less. How about you, sisters?
My wife's expecting. I got a son, Nathan. Said hi to my wife. I love you. I'll be home hopefully soon. Hi to my mom and dad and everybody. And she's due in March. I just can't wait till she has a baby.
And Sergeant, Staff Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
Katrina
Presley.
So, are you married?
Yes, I just got married in August.
Where's your hubby?
He's in Norway.
Oh, that's great. Much more from the 10th Mountain Division here at the Shkin Fire Base after this short break. Stand by. Okay, there he is, live, the Bob Dylan of the 10th Mountainers. Give him a hand, everybody. Yeah. Private Jeremy Wilson. That's my rank, private. So Jeremy, you gonna be in show business or what? That was pretty good, though. So every army really, colonel's one thing, general's one thing, but it's the first sergeants that really run the army. Is Madeira and Kessler different? What company you are?
I'm Charlie Battery 36, Field Artillery.
All right.
Alpha Company 187 Infantry.
All right, so how do these soldiers compare to the soldiers you've seen over the years?
These are some great soldiers. I'm glad to be here, be part of this. Highly motivated, and they just want more. Bring it on.
Bring it on. What do you think?
We can ask for better soldiers. We're all highly trained and getting better every day. It's just a constant training program, and we can't ask for better training than this.
But you know, I tell you one thing. I feel like when my own mobilizations happen, every couple of months, 2-3 weeks in the field, get a little down, you leave the kids behind. How do you keep the morale up?
Well, it's a fight. We're all family here. I mean, we rely on each other's shoulders for the support, and everybody gets there, have their down days. But we have our brothers and sisters here to pick us up, to carry on the fight.
All right. Now, the husband in Norway, he's not in the service?
Not anymore, no.
Oh, did you meet in the service?
Yes, we did. We were both worked together in Bosnia. We hit it off. We were pretty good friends. We just kept in touch after he left Bosnia, and then once I got back to the States, we kept in touch. And 3.5 years later, we just got married in August, so yeah.
Oh, nice honeymoon. Excuse me.
Yeah, pretty much.
Now, Colonel, I would be remiss, especially as a native New Yorker, if I went off the air without allowing you to say hi to some of the folks back home. Do you have someone special who's watching right now?
Yeah, my whole family. I my whole family better be watching. But there's one guy I want to...
Friends isn't on.
There you go. I got a little son at home. Actually, I have 3 children, but this one, it's his birthday today.
Oh.
Yesterday, he was the coolest 9-year-old that I know. Today, he's the coolest 10-year-old I know. So happy birthday, Ron. I love you, son.
I bet he's real proud of his daddy, too. Do you want to be in the Army?
Do I want him to be in the Army? Oh, we'll let him decide that here in a few years.
All right. I tell you, this colonel knows how to answer a question. So that's it. We're going to be here tomorrow. We'll be here in Virons. I don't want to tell you exactly. I don't want to tell you exactly what we're going to be doing. I'm not going to draw any lines in the sand either, so we'll... funny. But it's really, it's a great trip being with the 10th Mountain Division at a Fort Drum. They are great soldiers. They've been bloodied over the last several months, but they are doing a hell of a job for all of us. And as you know, whatever your feelings about the mission that the United States Armed Forces are engaged in around the world, whether it's Iraq, and I know how controversial that may be, here in Afghanistan or wherever around the globe, separate the mission from the men and women in uniform. Look at them, Panner called, just look at them. They are their faces. These are people that represent every aspect of American society, the most integrated institution in the United States of America. They are the best among us. They are sacrificing so much for us, and I tell you, it's an honor to be out here with them. This may be the evilest place in Afghanistan, but these are the best soldiers. So with the 10th Mountain Division at the Shkin Fire Base, just want to say thank you very much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow night. Good night.
Line of America's war on terror. No, not Iraq, but Afghanistan, which is still one of the most dangerous places in the world for American troops. Nearly 2 years since the Taliban regime was forced from power, American soldiers are still there. They're still fighting Al-Qaeda and a resurgent Taliban, and Americans are still dying there. Some 10,000 soldiers compared to 125,000 fighting in Iraq. But their task is just as great. The problem is, they're fighting an enemy that's so elusive, hard to see, and very hard to find. We joined up with a group of infantrymen from the 10th Mountain Division's Alpha Company. What you will see is a close-up look at the life and death situations these soldiers face every day. We traveled to southeastern Afghanistan near the border with Pakistan to meet up with the soldiers of Alpha Company.
The ruins that are out there, 1, 2.
Their leader, Captain Ryan Worthen, is a farm boy from Iowa.
That's Pakistan, over there. This ridge over here, as you go further to the north, it splits.
Captain Worthen showed us the frontline area where he and his men have been fighting for the past 7 months, right on the border with Pakistan.
That's pretty remote, rugged terrain.
Oh, yeah.
It must be pretty easy to hide.
It's very easy to hide. My guys are very fast. They move very quickly, but if you took all this off of us, we would move a lot faster. And that's how fast the enemy moves.
His soldiers live from moment to moment, never knowing when they're going to get hit. That's what happened on this day, when their base suddenly came under attack. They take cover in the nearest bunker.
Do not run on incoming!
Alpha Company's been rocketed many times before, but the enemy isn't usually this accurate.
Damn it! God, yeah, we gotta get out of here!
That's the moment Sergeant First Class Vernon Story realizes the bunker they're standing in is being targeted. So they run to another bunker on the other side of the base.
Come on, come on, come on! Come on.
Knowing the enemy is watching, following, still targeting them as they run. And even as they reach the bunker some 250 yards away. The men at the artillery guns hit back, firing into the mountainside a couple miles away, where they believe the rockets are being launched. Air support is called in, but the attackers disappear before their position can be pinpointed.
Hey, shut up!
As suddenly as it began, the attack is over. There are few casualties and incredibly no deaths.
Look, there's the end of the rocket.
Don't touch that.
Staff Sergeant Christopher McGurk just had a close call. He's visibly shaken.
That's how I'm feeling.
As darkness falls, the men from Alpha Company come together to talk about the rocket attack.
Well, the first one hit behind me when I come in. Remember, it hit? I come in.
The second one, we said, wait a minute, that is...
Their nights here on the front line are often no less dramatic. The artillery gunners fire sporadically throughout the night as a warning to the enemy that U.S. forces are constantly on the alert. The soldiers build small fires on the base to keep warm. It's also a place to gather and decompress.
But I can't feed on the powerless when my cup's already.
We couldn't film with lights for safety reasons, so we sat down with Sergeant Story and McGurk around one of the fires and talked to them about the enemy.
You can no longer just say the Taliban or Al-Qaeda. I mean, you don't know exactly who it is. And for me, I think that's the scary part.
It may take someone to get hurt before you find out where it's come from. That's what aggravates me.
It's not like the Civil War where you had armies lining up across from one another, firing in each other's ranks. It is difficult.
Sergeant Christopher McGurk grew up in a military family in the small town of Newburgh, New York. He'd never faced combat before he came here, and yet in 2 short months, his bravery earned him a Purple Heart and 2 medals for valor.
I think there'd be a spike in terrorist activity if we weren't in this country. I mean, that's just my opinion. I think we should be here.
I wake up every morning and do what I am asked to do. Winning, losing, that's something I couldn't tell you, man.
35-year-old Sergeant Story is from Arkansas. He signed up for the military when he was just 18. In battle here, Story's escaped death twice and has received the military's highest honors for heroism under fire.
The experience we've had, they hit you, they run, they hide, you know, there's trees where we're at. You don't always see who's shooting at you. I guess that's the most difficult part.
It's before sunrise, a few days after the rocket attack, when we head out from the base with Alpha Company on a mission to find those responsible. It takes an hour to travel 15 miles of rugged terrain through hostile territory. Sergeant Story is warned over the radio that the enemy is tracking our vehicles through the gorge. When we reach a village where the soldiers think the men who fired the rockets may be hiding out, Story spots men running off the roof of a compound. The soldiers head straight there, not knowing what lies in wait. By the time they get to the compound, the men have disappeared into the nearby mountains. The women left behind begin wailing when Story's men search the compound. Inside, they find heavy machine gun ammunition and armor-piercing rounds, the same type of bullets used against them by the enemy.
Okay, roger that.
The platoon keeps moving through the village, searching houses and people.
Don't rough them up. Don't rough them up. Just check them up.
Knowing things can turn nasty at any time.
We got some information from some of the guys that we got down there that all the young men have left the village to go set an ambush up, so when we leave, you know, they can hit us. Whether that's true or not, I don't know.
Sergeant Story's men uncover more weapons, including homemade grenades and improvised bombs. They didn't find any enemy fighters in the village, but the soldiers are relieved to make it out without being ambushed. This is not the same type of enemy U.S. soldiers faced when they first went to war here after 9/11 and defeated a traditional army. At Frontline, Sergeant Story sees the enemy strategy in action.
If they don't want to fight, they're not going to fight. They're not going to show yourself. They're going to hide or not even be here. They'll be somewhere else, and then they'll pick and choose when they want to come over here and do what they want to do.
While we were with Alpha Company, a new unit arrived on the front line. None of these soldiers had experienced enemy contact before. That was about to change. We went with them the next morning as Sergeant Story took them on their first combat patrol in the area. Take a closer look at these pictures, filmed by our cameraman Jeff Newton, moments before our vehicle hit a landmine. Staff Sergeant Roy Mitchell in the front seat is about to have his leg blown off. Behind him, Sergeant Story is next to Sergeant First Class Michael Eichner, who will also suffer serious injuries.
You gotta stay spread out, not on the road, because...
Story warned his men to stay off the road. It could be mined. Those words would come back to haunt us. The terrain forced the lead vehicles back onto the road. We followed behind. That's when we hit the mine. The impact blasted us into the air, knocking out our camera and flipping the Humvee. We scrambled for cover, and another camera captured this footage as Sergeant Story ordered his men to open fire. He knew the mine could have been detonated by remote control and suspected we were being ambushed. The sound that you're hearing now is a .50 caliber machine gun being fired from the vehicles at the front of the patrol. The backup is coming from the Humvees behind us, which are firing grenades launched on the vehicles. Story's best friend, Sergeant Eichner, sustained severe shrapnel and back injuries. Sergeant Mitchell lost his leg and part of his jaw. Through the chaos, it became clear to Sergeant Story there was no incoming fire.
Watch and hold! Watch and hold!
Story silenced the soldiers' guns. The men were relieved when the medevac arrived quickly. As we pulled back to base, another platoon came in to search the area. But many of the soldiers thought the enemy would be long gone across the border into Pakistan, where they cannot follow. Why not? That's a question we asked of General Barno.
U.S. soldiers do not have the right to pursue their enemy across the border into Pakistan.
Well, I don't want to characterize in any detail what our operational limitations are here.
It's an acknowledged fact. I've spent weeks with your soldiers in the border area. They have to watch their enemy disappearing to safety across the other side of the border.
They do return fire against any enemy that they make contact with, regardless of what that location is.
We'll put fire in there, and we'll put fire in there.
The soldiers may be allowed to shoot across the border, but the real issue is the enemy escaping into Pakistan, where American troops aren't allowed to pursue them. Their mission in Afghanistan goes beyond fighting. It's also about rebuilding the country. Sergeants Paul Gonzalez and Ben Sledge are part of Army Civil Affairs, a specialized military unit that works alongside Alpha Company. This isn't what you'd expect soldiers to be doing in the most dangerous part of the country, but their job is to win the trust of the locals. And they hope children like these will remember when American soldiers came to their village and ran races. But it's not always so easy. In this village, it quickly becomes obvious that Sledge and Gonzalez aren't welcome. There's no tea on offer here, no smiling faces. The soldiers say these are signs that tell them the enemy is near, maybe even sitting there with them.
Do you ever think about the fact that you might never make it home?
I wonder sometimes if it's me or one of my friends, it's going to be going on the next bird home in a coffin.
What we learned from Sergeant Vernon's story and the men from Alpha Company is they believe that what they're doing in Afghanistan will help prevent another September 11th. But they know that that comes at a price.
You can die here just as fast as you can in Iraq, so, you know, if we're forgetting about Afghanistan or if we're not forgetting about Afghanistan, I want the guys that are coming here that are going to relieve me and the guys that are going to relieve them to know that, you know, any day, any second, any night, they could die just as fast as the guy in Iraq can.
Both soldiers who were injured in the landmine attack are back in the U.S., recovering from their injuries. Sergeant First Class Michael Eichner, who hurt his back, is expected to make a full recovery, and Staff Sergeant Roy Mitchell is currently learning how to use his prosthetic leg.